Everyone. Today I will talk one another topic on disciplinary approaches in the branch of human resource management. So, the topic which will be discussed over are what is discipline, what are the approaches of discipline, then there is a difference between negative and positive discipline. That means first we will tell what is positive, then negative discipline. After that, the difference. Then the other approaches such as, for example, progressive discipline, then red hot stove rule, and finally we conclude. So, first I will talk what is discipline. So, a discipline is a force that prompts individuals or groups to observe the rules, regulations, and procedures which are deemed to be necessary for the effective functioning of an organization. The modern disciplinary approach will be divided certain categories. A discipline-based curriculum approach characterizes teaching practices within one subject and encourages teacher for specialization, depth of content knowledge, and integrity to the conventions of their discipline. There are 5 general modern approaches to discipline. So, first one will be the negative discipline. Traditionally, discipline is interpreted as a sort of check or restraint on the freedom of a person. Discipline is used to refer to the act of imposing penalties for wrong behavior. If employees fail to observe rules, they are punished. The fear of punishment puts the employee back on the rails. Discipline is the force that prompts an individual or a group to observe the rules, regulations, and procedures which are deemed to be necessary to the attainment of an objective. So that comes or that rely on the negative discipline. Employees are fear about taking a step towards the negative effect of a disciplined way. What about positive discipline? Employees comply with rules not out of fear of punishment, but out of the inherent desire to cooperate and achieve goal. Where the organizational climate is marked by two-way communication, clear goals, effective leadership, and adequate compensation, employees need not to be disciplined in the traditional way. There is a conscious cooperative effort on the part of management to secure compliance to company norms from the employees. Positive discipline, according to Spiegel, enable an employee to have a greater freedom in that he enjoys a greater degree of self-expression in striving to achieve the group objectives which he defines as his own. The difference between the two approaches may be summarized by the table. Negative discipline is adhered to established norms and regulations out of fear of punishment, whereas positive discipline is the creation of a conducive climate in an organization so that employees willingly conform to the established rule. Employees do not perceive the corporate goals as their own in negativity. There is no conflict between individual and organization goal in positive approach. Negative discipline requires intense supervisory control to prevent employees from going off the track. Derived by positive attitude, employees exercises self-control to meet organizational objective. The next approach is self-disciplined and self-control. Deciding to stop eating sweet and to start eating vegetables are separate psychological functions, as we already know. The first takes self-control, the second takes self-discipline. You can easily succeed at one and fail at the other. They are not the same process. Dr. Julia Murray, however, psychologically defined about these two processes. Self-control says no or to stop. Self-discipline says go and keep it going. Self-control is discipline in the face of pressure from an immediate urge, desire or compulsion. Self-control relates to delaying immediate gratification of the senses. It struggles in the conflict between intelligence, knowing and emotional desireness. It is the decision between physical and psychological enjoyment now versus the hope or expectation of something better later. In short, self-control has us stop doing an activity that we already do, perhaps in the middle of it. Self-discipline gets us to begin a new task or project and stick with it. The next will be the progressive discipline. Progressive discipline is a step-by-step program designed to correct performance problems, not merely compliance problem. Each step in a progressive discipline is a reminder of expected performance and should emphasize the employee's responsibility for his own behavior. In the manager's responsibility to provide the tools in order for the employee to meet expectation. The concept of progressive discipline stated that penalties must be appropriate to the violation. Inappropriate behavior is mirror in nature and has not previously occurred. An oral warning may be sufficient. If the violation requires a written warning, it must be done according to a procedure. After written warning, if the conduct of the employee is still not along desired line, serious punitive step could be initiated. In case of major violations such as hitting a supervisor may justify the termination of an employee immediately. In order to assist the managers to recognize the proper level of disciplinary action, some firms has formalized the procedure. One approach in the establishment of the progressive discipline action is shown below. The following section provides information on each of the steps typically used in the progressive discipline procedure. The manager or supervisor should use reasonable judgment to decide what steps or combination of steps up to and including termination should be used to address the issues. Contact and work with campus HR office when determining the level of discipline, if any, which may be required. So, the first step of discipline will be the verbal counseling. A verbal counseling is generally the first step of progressive discipline. A verbal counseling is intended to be used by a manager or supervisor to notify an employee that an improvement is needed in the employee's work performance or his behavior. This step is generally used for minor issues. That is, not calling the manager or supervisor as required if the employee is arrived late to work. The managers or supervisor should meet privately with the employee to discuss the issue. He should determine if the employee was aware of the issue and allow the employee to explain. As appropriate, he should be prepared to guide the employee to use available external resources that may assist him or her in resolving the issue. The managers should maintain written documentation regarding the issue, date on which the issue occurred, and the correction action required. At the manager's direction and depending on the nature of the issue, a second verbal counseling may be given prior to giving a written warning. The second step would be the written warning. A written warning is generally the second step of progressive discipline. A written warning provides notice to an employee regarding continued work performance issues and or inappropriate workplace behavior that has not been resolved after giving an employee to a verbal counseling. That is, the manager or supervisor has given an employee a verbal counseling about not calling when he or she will be arriving late to work, and the employee has not taken corrective action to resolve this issue. The written warning should include information regarding the issue, date on which the issue occurred, and the desired performance and or behavior expected from the employee. For assistance in developing a written document or a written warning, contact and work with the campus HR office. The manager should meet privately with the employee to discuss the issue and to provide the written warning to the employee. As appropriate, the manager should be prepared to guide the employee to use available external resources that may assist him to resolving the issue. Prior to the end of meeting, the employee should be asked to sign the written warning indicating that he or she has read and understand the warning. If the employee refuses to sign the written warning, the manager should note this on the written warning. The original written warning should be placed in the employee's personal file and a copy provided to the employee. At the manager's direction and depending on the nature of the issue, a second written warning may be given prior to implementing a performance improvement plan. The third step will be the performance improvement plan. A performance improvement plan, PIP, is generally the third step of the progressive discipline. It is a formal written plan used by the supervisor as a final attempt to resolve a second issue that has not been addressed by the employee after verbal warning. This is given for a specified time period, usually 30, 60 or 90 days. A manager should use reasonable judgment to decide the length of the PIP or contact and work with the campus HR office for assistance. A PIP should include information about the issue, including a prior verbal counseling or written warning, the work performance and or behavior issue that must be addressed and corrected during the PIP period, and the date on which the employee's work performance and or behavior will be reviewed. For assistance in developing a PIP, contact and work with the campus HR office. The manager should meet privately with the employee to discuss the issue and to provide the PIP to the employee. Prior to the end of the meeting, the employee should be asked to sign the PIP indicating that he or she has read and understand it. If the employee refuses to sign the PIP, the manager should note in this on the PIP and should date the document. The original PIP should be placed in the employee's personal file and a copy provided to the employee. The intent of a PIP, as it is in all other progressive discipline steps, is successful resolution in the issue. Even if the employee successfully meets the term of a PIP, that employee can be subject to additional disciplinary action if the same or other performance and behavior issues arise in the future. If a serious incident occurs while an employee is on a PIP, the employee may be subject to termination of employment. The next step will be the termination of employment. Termination of employment is generally the last step of progressive discipline after an employee has failed to meet the requirement of a PIP or a serious incident has occurred during the PIP period. Termination of employment can also be occur when an employee who is not on a PIP is involved in a serious offense that warrant immediate termination. For example, an employee is caught stealing in the workplace. Refer to the RF procedure on involuntary termination of employment. For assistance in developing a termination letter, contact and work with the campus HR office. The manager or supervisor should meet with the employee to discuss the termination and provide the termination letter to the employee. The manager should request that another person attend the termination meeting with them as a witness, that is a representative from the campus HR office, the department head or vice president. The original termination letter should be given to the employee and a copy maintained in the employee's personal file. Sometimes if the act or the issue is made, although the serious issue, but it not so as regarded as a termination, the suspension may be awarded for the employee. The last approach will be the red hot stove rule. Because of legal concern, managers must understand the discipline and know how to administrative work performed or effectively. General guidelines in administrative discipline include making disciplinary action corrective, making disciplinary action progressive, and following this red hot stove rule. Rules of discipline that can be compared with a hot stove in like that it gives advance warning that it means it is red hot. Secondly, it has immediate consequence like it burns when touched. Thirdly, it is enforced consistently. That means it burns every time. And lastly, applies to all employees in an interpersonal and unbiased way. It burns, that means it burns all who touches it. So these 4 rules will be applied for every employee in an organization if he or she under the process of a disciplinary approach. So these are the today's topic. Hope all of you understand the topic. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the classroom. Thank you.